Hey, how's it going, guys? This is going to be part 3 of this tiny little series I'm doing with multicam, free cam kind of stuff in Yakuza 7. This will cover the Chapter 3 cutscenes. So typically the way I'm doing this is I'm doing multiple passes on this. Initially, you'll see at the bottom right is the actual pass that is in the game. The top right is usually a far shot when I can, and then the left two are kind of miscellaneous shots. Interesting things about this first scene is if you watch the bottom left camera here, you'll see that Ichiban actually falls to the ground. A couple other interesting things about this scene is that there's a couple points where there's some animation that Ichiban does that's not on camera, as well as an A pose that's coming up in a moment here. Sorry, a T pose that's coming up in a moment here, which typically when actors aren't on scene in this, they're culled out just to, I guess, save some memory. But if you watch the top right camera here, you'll see him C pose momentarily, not A pose. While the bottom right camera zooms off to look at something else. There you go. He's T-posing right there, and the bottom left view, get another good view of him right there before he resets. In a second or so, there'll be a couple of small animations he does. Specifically when he touches his wound and smells it, it cuts away from him and he continues to rub it and kind of like grimace at the smell, so that's interesting. Some of the other interesting things you might see are that the various little huts and hovels around here have different degrees of interior decoration that you may or may not see. The one that other man comes out of in the back right is actually modeled in the interior, but you could barely see inside of it when he opens the flap. A couple things like that, so just some cool little things you normally don't get to see. You know, you normally don't go in any of these, so you can't normally see inside of them. So here's where I was talking about where he's smelling his wound, and then it cuts away from him, but you can see in the top right view, he's actually still moving, he's still in the scene, which, it's interesting because Namba's not, but he doesn't get culled out for that. Usually when things are culled out, they're gone. On the bottom left camera, you can see me kind of looking underground a bit. I managed to get my way into the sewer at one point. Normally when you go underwater, you just see either green or blue, just almost your whole screen, but there seemed to be one spot where I can kind of sneak through that and fly around a tiny bit. Here I'm going to do a bit of a zoom out. Some of it is sped up just because of the amount of time it takes. Unfortunately with this camera, you don't get to control the speed of the camera. It seems to be very dependent upon... There's Ichiban falling through the ground. Very dependent upon when you activate it. So if you activate it too soon, or not too soon, if you activate it during a shot that's maybe zoomed in too far, or the camera's panning slowly, or I haven't quite figured it out yet, the camera will actually move very slow. So you'll see right in like maybe 15 seconds, I'll start speeding this up and give us a good zoom out of what's rendered while you're in the area. This game does cull out basically anything you can't see. However, because there's this river here, you can kind of see down to the Ferris wheel and a couple other things, so those are actually in the scene in the background, I believe. And yep, you can see the left hand right there. And you'll notice that as soon as we got a certain distance away from the water, it turned to blue. And you can actually see that if you free cam underneath some of these bridges in the game, that when you get to a certain distance away from somewhere, it changes the water from blue to green, and the filter, I guess, that's on it. And that's how they do that dirty water, and that's how it becomes the cleaner water when you go out by the docks. Here, I'm going to do another zoom around past some of the buildings here at ground level just to see what they look like. Over here, you can kind of see what looks like I want to say like one of those outdoor amphitheaters, but it almost looks like reverse, where it's a hill. Off to the right, there's some kind of boat. I haven't looked into the actual location that this is based off of. I'm guessing in the background somewhere there's like a tourist attraction boat that people can go on. It appears to be a small boat launching area. You can see those multicolored boats on the shore, you know, like a small rowboat. Interestingly enough, on this building, which again, I don't know what the real life equivalent is, there's a fairly detailed texture of blinds. I don't believe you could ever really see this far over here to even see the blinds, so I'm not sure why they didn't just go with a regular window. But this right here are curtains. Why you would have such detail? Maybe I was initially there for a placeholder or something, and they never removed it because it doesn't matter. But I feel like all the rest of the windows are just kind of like they have that fake skybox reflection kind of deal, and that's it. These roller coasters are interesting. The tracks are laid out in almost a loop. There's a certain point where both tracks go inside. You can see that little hut right there. And the track actually ends and then begins again. And so all these cars are not on a loop. They actually spawn in and despawn, even stopping inside of this building. Why they didn't just make it a loop and have it go run around, I'm not sure. But you'll kind of see, especially with the second one, see how it just jumps to the end and you have one waiting to go again. So it's this odd loop. Interesting choice, like I said. I don't know why they didn't just have it do a full loop. We'll explore some of the trains later as well, and the behavior of the trains is pretty similar. Another interesting thing to note, which I don't think I got a shot of it, but this pink roller coaster actually goes underwater at one point. And even if you get to kind of like that dock area, that northern area, it actually loads in a little bit more detail than this, which I'll explore at a later point. It still goes underwater in that, so just interesting that they went through such detail to make all these, and it goes underwater, which I don't think it does in real life. I would imagine there's no feasible way to do that without having it be a drowning risk, but other notable things, the cars on that Ferris wheel always point in the same direction, so in theory, you know, they never go upside down. I think they're either locked at a certain angle and go around like that, or they're locked at a certain angle and they spin. I believe they spin, so all the cars end up upside down. But here you can see with this pink roller coaster, that train car that just stopped there and just respawns on the other side, all in one spot, and it takes off, and then at the end when it stops, it all kind of accordions in. Oh, here we go. This is where they go underwater on the train. Weird, and it's all, the track's all modeled under there, and it comes back up. So like I said, when we get to the dock area and some of the cutscenes there, I'll do a bit more exploration of this area, because there is some more detail. This is not the highest level of detail. It's like there's 2 levels of detail, and this is the lower one. And then here, I'm just going to go zoom around the edge of the building so you can get a look at the land that's over here. You can see some of the reflections off the building. It seems to be a combo of just the default skybox and a fake like cityscape that you kind of get that parallax from. This second cutscene here doesn't have anything too crazy in it. I decided for one of the cameras here that I would kind of freeze frame and zoom in and do almost like a little slice of life vignette, which I thought was kind of cool. You get some good shots of the people and their facial expressions and all that from the angle you wouldn't normally get it. So that's on the top right there, I believe. Yeah, you can see that that one's paused. So otherwise, this is a fairly regular scene. One thing to note is that when Ichiban hops out here, there's a bit of a blur effect. You can see that happened on the bottom left-hand camera. I think there's certain actions and certain things that they render that forces motion blur to be on, if I'm not mistaken, and that kind of messes with the rendering. So you'll notice once in a while that there's some of the scenes get a little blurry or like that whenever there's some action. So just something to note, a limitation of this tool. Another interesting to note is that these guys are actually standing inside of things. Specifically, his sidekick is standing inside of that refrigerator and that stack of tires. They tend to move models around to wherever it suits the scene. So sometimes you find people who are doing odd things and standing in weird places, but you know, they never zoom in on their feet or whatever to see it, so you never end up seeing it. This is the scene where Ichiban first finds the counterfeit bill, and the homeless guys try and say it's theirs, and then regret saying it's theirs. Again, there's nothing too crazy in the scene. I think there's one point where Nanba's hand looks kind of funky. I think I zoomed in on one of the cameras, but overall, a pretty standard scene. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just like I said, lots of lighting changes, lots of culling and all that.
あのな、こいつをここに置いとくともっと厄介事持ち込むぞ。こいつは追い出すべきだ。だから知らねえっての。偽札なんて全く覚えがねえよ。嘘つき。じゃあこれはどっから出てきたんだよ。
待て。確かにこれは一番のポケットに入っていた。だがポケットには撃たれた穴が開いてるんだ。もし一番がもっと前から持ってたとしたら、万札にも銃弾の穴が開いてるはずだ。だがこいつは開いてねえ。撃たれて気を失った後、自分で入れるなんてこともありえねえ。つまり撃たれた後、誰かが一番のポケットにこいつを入れたんだ。
誰が何のために。わかんねえよそんなの。
まあここに運んできたやつなのかな。でもそれが誰なのかもわかんねえんだよな。
ああ、そもそもなんで俺がここに運ばれてきたのか、なんでそんな札があんのか、本当にわけがわからねえんだよ。嘘じゃねえよ。とにかく俺たちは警察が絡むような揉め事はごめんだ。そんなもんさっさと捨てて、もう騒ぎ起こすんじゃねえぞ。
騒ぎにしたのは誰だ。村長に報告するぞ。
南波さん、そりゃ勘弁して。だよ、分かった、約束する。騒ぎや揉め事には気をつけるから。
Here's a scene where Ichiban confronts the mob here, the Koreans, I believe. Nothing really out of the ordinary here. Just a good look at some of the guys who are doing the actual shooting. And then after that, I'll do a bit of a zoom out and talk about the trains.
気が済んだか。嘘。ありがとよ。そうこなくっちゃ。おい、帰ろうぜ。マジかよ。
All right, here I'm going to do a little bit of a zoom in on some of the guys upstairs, and then a small little zoom out to show the area that this takes place in. Again, there's lots of culling around this area. It's a pretty tight cutscene, so I would imagine they would cull out a fair bit. Cool, so here I'm going to do a bit of a zoom out and check out the trains. Interesting thing about the trains is, much like the roller coasters, they don't make a complete loop. You would think that maybe they'd go off into they go off really far into the kind of nowhere land, you know, outside of the area that's culled. And that changes depending on where you are in the city. So you'll see the trains kind of driving through the air, but if you are somewhere else in town, you may actually see them. You may actually see them on tracks. So here we can look at some of these trains. This one makes the biggest loop by far. It kind of starts in this back area behind these, and it goes almost maybe, I don't know, 270 degrees around the map. It goes pretty far, and then it gets despawned. It kind of follows the same principle as the roller coasters. The train kind of spawns in chunks as it moves along. Here you can see the station. Obviously it's culled out because you're far enough away. but you can kind of see the train stopping there. I'll do a quick zoom and check out the inside of the trains here. And then here we'll follow one of the train to one side to figure out where it despawns. Time was sped up for some of that, and here's back to normal time. And you'll see the train right off the track, and also a train spawn in. This is the point, like I said, where they spawn in and out. Or it's possible they hop to the other side. I don't quite know, because I can't see both sides at once, and I'm not actually looking at what it's doing in the code. I'm just kind of more speculating on what's happening. But here you can see the train get to the end and just drive off into nothing and disappear, basically. And as it's doing that, a second train will start spawning in and move out to go back the opposite way. Before we get to the other side, this is the only other train in this scene. It's a much shorter loop. You can see it's just this tiny little loop here, and there's just two trains that are just constantly moving. You can see that once it despawns from one side, it doesn't immediately spawn on the other, so I don't know if, maybe it's doing 1, 2, 3, 4 out of the 4 exits, or it just respawns and despawns them as needed. I'm not sure, but this is by far the smallest little chunk of trains in the whole game, I believe. Out over there to the left is the Ferris wheel and where those other trains are, and you can see this is that other train that we were looking at that's coming into that station, which again is called out. But off to that right is the area where it initially spawns in. So maybe it's not, maybe it's more like 180, 200 degrees, but it's still a fair distance outside of where you can see from the confines of this cutscene. Next cutscene is with the introduction of Bleach Japan. Very interesting in this scene, where there's some items that are not out of bounds, but in an area where you normally wouldn't see them because the camera is so controlled. You'll see a bunch of signs that are not in the correct location as Bleach Japan walks across the water. I'm not sure if it's there for reference or if they maybe moved some bad animations out of the way and never removed them because you can't see them, but it's actually kind of interesting. If you watch this bottom left-hand camera, I think it's the best view of it, although the top left would also have a good view. You can see them there in the water. I'm unsure what those are from, but they do move up and down appropriately with the people walking when they raise their signs. So obviously it had something to do with that, but I don't know exactly what. That bottom left-hand camera again. I was saying how sometimes the water glitches out. This is the water glitching out, and you'll see it goes black in a second because I went too far. But I'm actually in the green area where you normally can't see. There you go. You normally can't see anything because it's so green. But I was also interested in those pipes because they seem to be constantly like regurgitating water and adding to like the flow, and there's always waves coming out of it. And I thought that was kind of cool how they were doing that.
Bleach Japan?
This next scene is Ichiban and Nanba in their little apartment here that they get for helping out with the Bleach Japan guys. Nothing too crazy about this. You know, typical culling people in and out. You'll see the top right camera is going to be overview, and I believe I positioned the bottom left camera to watch Nanba and the top left camera to watch Ichiban, so you can kind of see them spawn in and out like that. At the end of the scene, you'll see that they store the lids to the sake that they have underneath the floor, so it's actually in that bottom floor. And as they move the sake around, you can actually see the lids kind of floating around in weird positions. I mean, interesting choice. It's probably tied to the position of the bottle, so I mean, it makes sense they'd be moving around. They just push them far out of the way.
Nanba って看護師だったんだろ？
まあな。
なんで辞めちまったんだ？
病院の薬をくすねて闇で売ってたんだ。結構いい金になってよ。そのうち海外の医薬品まで仕入れるようになってな。手を広げすぎたらあっという間にバレちまった。まあおかげで看護師免許は剥奪されちまった。
だよそれ。またバカなことやっちまったな。
後悔してるよ。
でもここからやり直しはいいじゃねえか。看護師は無理でもまた新しい目標だってできるだろう。
簡単に言うなよ。そういう一番はなんか目標があるのか？
いや、わかんねえ。ずっと追いかけてきた背中が目の前から消えちまったんだ。俺はその背中しか見てこなかったから、他のことなんて。
組長さんのことか？
ああ。
まあ、お前なら何だってできるだろう。
簡単に言うなよ。もう40超えてんだぜ。
お前さっき俺には随分簡単に言ってくれたくせによ。
だったな、悪い。
目標か。一番よ、お前子供の頃何になりたかった？
なんだっけな。
もったいぶるなよ。照れてんのか？
ガキの頃、俺は勇者になりたかったな。
あ？勇者？どういうこと？
ドラクエに出てくんだろ？あの勇者だよ。
それゲームのキャラだろ。 ありえねえよ。
悪いかよ。
いや、まあ
そんなの自由だろ。なりたいもんになりてって。そんな夢見るくらいは自由だろ。
だよな、一番。
なんだよ。
なりゃいいじゃねえかよ、勇者。うん、なるべきだ。
やめてくれよ。それガキの頃に思ってただけで。
でも今目標はねえんだろ。じゃあ残ってる目標はそれしかねえじゃねえか。
酔っ払ったのか。だいたいそんなの職業でもねえし。
そりゃ職業じゃねえよ。でも勇者ってのはスライム倒していつか成り上がってなるもんだろ。生き様だろ。
成り上がる生き様か。
そうさ、お前なら今からだって成り上がれるぜ。
40過ぎて成り上がりか。悪くねえな。
All right, coming up here on this top left camera, you can see the lids of the bottles kind of moving around on the ground. Yep, you can see the bottle zoom into his hand there, and you'll see the actual lid underneath. There you go. They're just moving around. Interesting. And then we'll give the top right one, we'll do a little bit of a zoom out here. Look at some of the other stores. You'll see that the lid ended up in the top right of that one, of this room. I think I saw it when I panned back left again. Let's see. Yeah, it's just below. No, maybe it didn't. But there is a second one that's stored over here somewhere. There you go. You can see it right there. There's I believe that's Nanba's, and then Ichiban's is in the other room. But just interesting that that's where they ended up. Here's one of the Kappas that I didn't find until I started free camming. I think I only collected 3 in game. I feel kind of bad about that, but you know, maybe one day I'll revisit and find them all, including that one. Here's this short cutscene where this gentleman meets his demise. This is just a small room inside of a void. This doesn't really load in, as far as I can tell. It doesn't load in like underneath the city like other rooms do. It seems to be made specifically for this cutscene. There are some little hallway vignettes outside, which is weird because you never see out the door, but you know, nothing too crazy.
네가 걱정할 필요는 없어. 가게에는 전화해두었다. 나머지는 우리가 알아서 처리하지.
なんて言ったんだ。
お前のようなクズを雇ったのが間違いだった。죽어라.
And here's just a better view of the trigger puller here. And that's all I've got. Thank you for checking this out. Like I said last time, thank you to Etra Zero for making this tool, the free camera tool. Very interesting. Check out the description below for a link to it. It works. He has separate versions for Zero, Koami 1, Koami 2, and Like a Dragon. So if you haven't checked them out and are interested in this kind of thing, go ahead and grab that and give them a hello or something. Thank you for making them, because I think that kind of thing is one of the most interesting things you could do for a game after you've played it. Obviously, is to check out kind of the guts and how it's made, and you know, I find it interesting in this context of Yakuza how they cull things a lot. I kind of wish they didn't, but I do remember somebody, I think it was Etra himself, finding in Zero, when, and spoilers for a scene in Zero if you haven't played it, I don't know why you'd be playing 7 if you haven't played Zero, but when Kiryu is fighting Kuze in the sewer, and he gets knocked over, there's actually mocap of the actor standing up that doesn't get shown. You know, the camera doesn't show it. So there's weird little Easter eggs that you can find every once in a while that don't get culled, or like earlier we saw him T-posing, Ichiban T-posing, so just cool stuff like that. It really makes me, I like it. It's cool, you know, but hopefully I'll get some more of these out soon. We'll get to some more of these cutscenes, and if you have any specific requests, please feel free to let me know. I'll try and get to that area and get a video of whatever you're looking to see. And yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.